Here is Israel, major flub, big L from Israel. Something I talked about already with respect to like how racist they are. Knowing full well that this was about to happen, and yet they still did it. Or didn't do anything about it. Sorry, fuck.
The ceasefire is ended. Combat operations resumed overnight after Israel accused Hamas of violating the truce and warned residents.
All right, I'm almost done. I'm almost done ordering a handicap accessible van for my mom. I'm gonna start it again. Okay, we're gonna go back to the top of the hour ad break. I'm gonna run the top of the hour ad break, and I'm gonna fucking restart what I had to say. Okay, I'm gonna restart what I was saying from the jump. Top of the hour, there's a 3-minute ad break. If you no longer want to see those ads, all you need to do is subscribe for $5 or for free with a Twitch Prime by connecting your Amazon Prime account to your Twitch account, where you get 1 free Prime subscription a month. Use it on your favorite broadcaster. Hopefully that's me. Or, you can get gifted a sub as well if you're lucky. Here's a 3-minute ad break now. All right. So, what are we talking about right now? That's right. Israel apparently had Hamas's attack plan for over a year. And what did they do? Well, they said, they can't do that. They don't have the smoke. They're fucking animals. They would never dare, or rather, they don't have the capabilities. Well, it turns out they do have the capabilities. Very 9/11-like. Israel is America. Continued. Literally, I've said this already. Israel is basically an extension of America, but like, oh my God, this is the most America shit that could have ever happened. What is more America than having your own 9/11 happen in identical fucking ways almost?
The ceasefire is ended. Combat operations resumed overnight.
And yes, by the way, this is a big I told you so moment. I told you this was arrogance. I told you this was racist hubris. And it precisely is the case.
After Israel accused Hamas of violating the truce and warned residents to leave parts of southern Gaza. Plus, there is a new report that claims Israel had an intelligence report about the Hamas attack months before October 7th, but dismissed the report. Chief Global Affairs anchor Martha Raddatz has been tracking this overnight. She joins us now from Washington. Good morning, Martha.
Good morning, George. From the moment the attack on Israel began, it was clear this was a massive intelligence and military failure on the part of the Israelis. But this report, which dropped overnight, spells it out in horrifying detail. This morning, the horrors of October 7th, the lapses in security, the planning by Hamas laid out in a stunning report. The New York Times saying that Israeli officials had the Hamas battle plan in their hands for more than a year before hundreds of Hamas fighters stormed into Israel.
No, it is so 9/11, it blows my fucking mind. It is so identical to 9/11. Like, think about it this way. A group of militants that you have radicalized, that you have funded, turning around and switching its crosshairs towards you, okay? And then openly fucking signaling under your watchful eye, because Israel occupies both the West Bank and Gaza as well. Under your watchful eye, they're training. Like Muhammad Atta fucking saying, I don't need to learn how to land the plane. I need to learn how to fly it. Like, directly. Okay? And then experiencing that blowback and then quintupling the violence as an immediate consequence after this blowback happens that you foresaw for a fucking year and didn't do anything about it because you're racist and you're arrogant. And then you turn around and 10x, 100x the fucking violence. Identical.
And slaughtered more than 1,200 people. But the Times says the Hamas plan was dismissed by the Israelis, who believed it would be too difficult for Hamas.
No, man, I don't think they intentionally ignored it. You guys are wrong, dude. I don't think that they intentionally ignored it. I am more predisposed to believing, and I don't even believe America intentionally ignored 9/11, but I am way more confident in potentially America intentionally ignoring it than Israel. No. There is no need to think about this as anything but sheer arrogance. That's all I'm saying.
To carry out. According to the Times, Israeli military obtained a 40-page Hamas document last year, which they codenamed Jericho Wall, calling for a barrage of rockets at the outset of the attack, drones to knock out the security cameras, and automated machine guns along the border, nearly the exact scenario that played out on October 7th. The Times saying Israeli intelligence...
Chat. The reason why I say it's sheer arrogance and I don't ascribe like a much larger conspiracy to this, and I just look at it and I say it's simply sheer arrogance, is because the Financial Times report that we read showed us something very important about the mindset of the IDF, right? Remember in 2018 where Islamic Jihad posted videos of the commanders within the IDF where they had trained sniper rifle crosshairs on them, and they posted videos without killing them, right? Saying like, watch what you do. We always have our eyes on you, even when you think you're safe. And how did they look at that? Oh, they're so afraid of us. Like, what was Israel's assumption in that matter? Not, oh my God, this motherfucker just posted a photo of my house directly at me under my phone number. Okay. Their response wasn't to go, oh my God, that's fucking terrifying. What the hell are we doing? Their response was, oh, they're so afraid of us that they simply dare not pull the trigger. You cannot fucking have this mentality unless you are the most racist person on the planet. I'm telling you. It's sheer arrogance. That's it.
dismissed the plan as aspirational, but Hamas followed the blueprint.
Like, look, they're saying it. They literally dismissed it as aspirational. They could never do that.
With shocking precision, reportedly practicing breaching the gates and storming a kibbutz, paragliding into the communities, all of which the world saw executed with lethal precision on October 7th. The IDF showing me where the Hamas infiltration began, just as the report said it would. This is the gate.
This is also a wild thing that Israel's doing where they just like keep posting their fucking greatest L of all time. Like, brother, this is incompetence. Like, you should be fired. Why do you have a job? That I don't understand. Like, Hagari going up and being like, this is the tunnel, this is the gate. It's like, bro, you literally are like, you're like a brigadier, rear admiral, general in this fucking military that failed its basic duty. Like, what are you doing?
Where the Hamas terrorists broke through one of 30 locations where they gained access. But the Times says one Israeli analyst tried to raise a red flag on the report just 3 months before the attacks. An analyst for the Israeli intelligence agency warning it's a plan designed to start a war, adding it.
How do you think the average Israeli supporter in the U.S. will think of this? I think this kind of reporting makes Israelis more mad at their government than Americans do. Because remember, two things, okay? Israel supporters in America, remember two things. Israel supporters in America have proximity. Like, they're far away from the direct consequences, so they can be way more bloodthirsty, okay? I've described this dynamic when talking about the kidnap posters, right? The hostage posters. In Israel, the hostage posters serve a very different role than the hostage posters in America. In the hostage posters in America, the role it serves is to constantly remind people of the violent, racist, anti-Semitic attacks that Hamas engaged in on October 7th, which is why all of our retaliation is just. The hostage posters in Israel, on the other hand, actually show of the exact opposite, where it is a reminder to the Israeli government to stop bombing Gaza and to get the hostages back. Okay? So in that circumstance, Americans can be like American supporters of Israel can be very like much more callous and much more racist and much more violent in what they believe should happen, right? The second reason is because also Americans are Americans and we are so primed to doing violence towards Muslim populations. That's like kind of what we love to do. That's our bread and butter. That's what we love. That's what we expect. So for that reason, you know, this is a nation that has looked at millions of dead Iraqi civilians and said, oh yeah, that's YOLO. That's just a dangerous consequence of fucking around with America, I guess. So, you know, for them, we love a genocide. We love an Arab genocide especially, so we don't really give a shit at all.
It's not just a raid on a village.
So that's why I'm trying to say, like, this argument or this video and this investigation will be more frustrating to the Israelis because, you know, they see the abject failure of their own intelligence. It pierces through the veil, too. Like, it just breaks the comfort blanket, the security blanket that you thought you had.
It's not just a raid on a village. Her warning dismissed. ABC News has not reviewed the document, and the Israeli military has declined to comment on the New York Times reporting. But a senior U.S. official telling ABC News the Americans had not been made aware of this document. Eva?
Martha Raddatz for us there. Thank you, Martha.
Talk about what your team learned about this blueprint and the length of time that Israel had to review these plans and why it wasn't listened to.
So somewhere around along 2022, Israeli intelligence was able to get the plan for the Hamas attack. It was codenamed by Israeli intelligence the Wall of Jericho, the Jericho Wall. And it details in many different details how the attack is going to take place, exactly as it took place more than a year after. This could be an intelligence victory for Israel, but Israeli analysts, some of the seniors of Israeli intelligence, saw the plan as more of, they call it a compass for the building of the forces, where Hamas wants to be, but not where Hamas is. So while having that plan, they saw this as something that Hamas is far from being capable of doing. They believe that Hamas doesn't have the ability to conduct such a massive operation. We are talking about, according to that plan, to break the fence between Gaza and Israel in 60 different places. Israel believed they could do that maybe in 2 places. It called for the bombing and destruction of the cameras instantly, the same simultaneously, the beginning of the attack of the cameras, the automatic guns, the communication centers, and then the ramping of the division headquarters, the Gaza division headquarters that is in charge of protecting the front. In July of this year, so a year after, an analyst that was reviewing intercepts about Hamas military exercises wrote a letter, an email, an exchange of email, encrypted email. She comes from 8200, this is the Israeli NSA, the equivalent to the American NSA. And she described that drill, and she said that she believes that Hamas is narrowing the gap between the Wall of Jericho plan and its real capabilities. And there was a pushback from most senior intelligence officers that told her, this is an imaginary plan. They cannot do that. And so here is the tragedy for Israeli intelligence, for Israeli public. Instead of positioning, it's not just an intelligence debate. If Israeli defense forces would adopt this plan as something that Hamas can do, even without any connection to the intention of Hamas, the decision to execute, this is something that the analyst couldn't say. She did not push back on the Israeli wisdom at that time that time meaning 3-4 months ago, that Hamas doesn't want to go to all-in-one. But if Israeli defense establishment had the knowledge that Hamas is capable of launching such an attack, that would put a total different size of forces on the border. The outcome could be very different.
Also, according to your reporting, this analyst, this woman analyst, saw an exercise that Hamas undertook, a trial run, and raised red flags again, saying this looks very much like the Wall of Jericho plan that we had discussed before, and again would seem to have been dismissed.
Not just that, she says, here's an interesting bit of information. The same quote from the Quran, Surah Al-Ma'idah, that begins with which this detailed plan for action, this detailed plan for attack starts with. It's called for this. This is something about Moses, but it's about the surprise entry through a gate. I think it's not a coincidence that Hamas picked this up. The people participating, the Hamas gunmen participating in that drill, were using the same quote. The same quote is now part of the emblem of Hamas, used in all Hamas publications, statement and videos since the attack.
As you know, the Israeli government posted online on X last month, quote, contrary to the false claims, under no circumstances and at no stage was Prime Minister Netanyahu warned of Hamas's war intentions. They went on to say at no point was a warning given to Prime Minister Netanyahu on Hamas's intention to start a war. On the contrary, all the defense officials, including the heads of the Intelligence Directorate and the Shin Bet, assessed that Hamas was deterred. Do you know if the Prime Minister was, in fact, informed? Because it sounds like from your reporting that this document was widely disseminated in intelligence and military circles.
Yeah. So we don't know if Prime Minister Netanyahu was presented with this document.
Oof, that's
we do
so
know,
bad.
and this comes from previous reporting, that he was warned again and again and again and again, and in details, at least in 4 different letters throughout the last year, that the members of the so-called axis of resistance, Iran, Hamas, Hezbollah, see Israeli weakness, and they might decide to use what they believe.
The most I'll say is this, okay? I won't say that, like, they definitely knew that it would happen and then let it happen without a shadow of a doubt. But I will say this much. I think maybe, just like Hamas thought, that their campaign would not be as successful and as violent, obviously. So maybe Benjamin Netanyahu at most saw this, or the Israeli security forces saw this, and basically thought, especially Benjamin Netanyahu, either through sheer arrogance and sheer hubris, thought that the impact would be marginal, but it would be good for the subsequent apocalypse that would ensue. You know what I mean? Like, there's no way they could kill 1,200 people inside of Israel proper and maintain positions inside of Israel proper for fucking a multiple days, like 2 days, 3 days. So even if something like this were to happen, it seems to me like their perspective was probably like, there's no way that they could actually make it that bad. Like, they could facilitate a strike that devastating, which we could technically use for our counter later down the line. So even if that's the only concession I'll make here to the whole, like, inside job narrative. You know what I mean? It's only 1,800 dead. No, it's not true. Or it's only 800 dead, not 1,400. That's not true. It's 1,200. It's not 800. Haaretz has revealed information of the people that have allowed them, that have given them permission. But yeah, I don't think Netanyahu would ever. I don't know. I don't think he would have. Like, under no circumstances do I think that Netanyahu would have ever allowed 1,200 Israelis to be fucking slaughtered. No shot. 200 plus taken fucking hostage. No shot.
Window of opportunity to attack.
Yeah.
This document was sent to many, and I think this is a good point for further reporting about who saw and who decided to continue with this so-called conception, the ability to believe that Hamas is contained.
Ronan Bergman, it's incredible reporting. Thank you. More now on the forces at play tonight. Joining us, CNN's Alex Marquardt and Oren Lieberman, also Axios reporter and CNN political and foreign policy analyst Barak Ravid, and CNN military analyst, retired Army Lieutenant General Mark Hertling. Barak, first of all, how damning is this report for the Israeli government?
Well, I think this is part of a series of stories that appeared in the Israeli press over the last week or 2 weeks, that what happens behind them is a fight between the Israeli intelligence community, or parts of it, especially the military intelligence, and the political echelon, with each side leaking stuff that are more comfortable to him when it comes to everything that happened in the year before the war. And, you know, a lot of people in Israel think that the reason that now we hear about those documents is because it's very comfortable for Benjamin Netanyahu and his people, and they're trying to put those things out in order to build a case for the inquiry committee that most likely is going to be formed on the day after the war.
I mean, Barak, as you know, intelligence officials, military officials have accepted responsibility. Benjamin Netanyahu has not in any form accepted any responsibility for the attack on October 7th. He had very early on, right before the operation in Gaza.
One fun reminder for everybody who's not paying close attention to what's going on in Israel: Netanyahu never apologized. However, he forced the head of Shin Bet, I think, and numerous other security officials to apologize to the Israeli public for October 7th. Just something to consider when putting yourself in the mindset of Benjamin Netanyahu mindset, also known as Philly mindset.
He had tweeted out a
Philadelphia's very
criticism
own
of the heads of the military and intelligence, and then quickly withdrew that tweet and apologized for that. But it certainly seems like this is something he wants out there.
No doubt. By the way, there was a huge intelligence failure. It's not that it's not true. There was a huge intelligence failure. I just, you know, in one of the emails, this analyst from Israel Signals Intelligence Agency, 8200, one of the headlines of one of her emails that was warning from this plan was, the headline was, "Death in the Kibbutz." Okay, how symbolic is that? Okay, several months ago, "Death in the Kibbutz," she wrote. So there was a huge intelligence failure.
Bro, that's crazy. That's actually fucking nuts. They're like, bro. All right. This next one is called Paragliding into the Festival. They're going, in my email titled Paragliding into the Festival, I will detail to you that Hamas is going to paraglide over the fucking border wall into a festival. I know it seems like there's no music festival yet, but there will be at that point. Please heed my fucking warnings. And they were like, no. Oh, come on. Classic woman, lol. They literally were like, nah, woman moment.
Failure, not at her level, but at the higher level of the people who are actually making the decisions, and that their job is to actually warn the political echelon of what was going on. But at the same time, Netanyahu did get a lot of other warnings that had to do also with
They were like
the
fucking
general
femoids.
situation,
Am I right?
where Israel's enemies were planning to gang up on it because of the domestic crisis.
Bro, even on October 8th, we knew Shin Bet. In the month of March, I think, or maybe May, Shin Bet warned the Netanyahu administration that Itamar Ben-Gvir's actions and increased violence in the West Bank was going to cause blowback, and it was going to cause a national security concern. To which the Netanyahu administration said, and Benjamin Netanyahu said, "You're woke. Woke culture has taken over the Shin Bet." So this was telegraphed years in advance.
Crisis over Netanyahu's judicial overhaul in the months before the war.
Alex, what do you make of this report? How are U.S. officials likely to react?
Well, Anderson, I really do think it goes to this theme that we've been reporting on for quite some time of the underestimation of what Hamas was capable of doing and certainly what they intended to do. You and I have talked about intelligence reports and assessments both on the Israeli and the American side in the days leading up to October 7th that indicated that Hamas might do something. Now,
U.S. won't do shit because Israel's intelligence failure reflects poorly on them because Israel is America. This smells really like a fake story. More likely, Israel's leaking this info to pretend their intelligence capability didn't turn out to be a complete joke. It's like, bro, of course we knew better than we legit had no idea. No, I don't agree with that. Because Egypt literally fucking also informed Israel. I don't agree with that at all, especially because this looks fucking horribly bad for Israel, and it creates a domestic a backlash too. Imagine how mentally destroyed that analyst is now, doing her job and screaming it. No, she's dead. I'm pretty sure she died. I think she was a part of the all women's brigade that was at the border. So yeah. That's the other part of the story that's like almost as insane, is that if I read it correctly, the all women brigade that they were using for fucking pink washing purposes, obviously, literally was one of the first to get taken out. Please don't believe the Israeli spin. The high level of Israeli directive was to allow the October 7th to go ahead so they can use it as an attack. The old Moshe Dayan strategy to provoke and revenge. Brother, I'm telling you right now, there is no provoke and revenge to this magnitude. Okay? You're misunderstanding the point. Provocation happens with Sharon going to the Al-Aqsa Mosque. That's a provocation. Okay? With a knowing retaliation that will come from that. Provocation is not about allowing Palestinians to fucking kill 1,200 people inside of Israel. That's not, they don't need that much to deliver incredible amounts of genocidal violence upon the Palestinian population. They don't need it. They need like way less of this to be able to behave this way. Especially when the very foreseeable consequences for those who allowed it to happen will be vast.
what that something was expected to be was what we had seen before in previous rounds of fighting that were frankly rather inconsequential for Israel. And that would have been,
if they wanted to keep provoking, They would go into the fucking mosque or some shit again, and then Hamas would lob rockets, and then they would go in and fucking rip. They would rip into the Gaza Strip over and over again.
Rockets being fired across the border, which then likely would have been intercepted by the Iron Dome, which is exactly what we're seeing on our screen right there. But there was no sense that Hamas would be able to.
Am I saying that Israel would have made this kind of response over, say, 100 Israeli killed? Yes. Yes. I'm saying that, yes.
To break through the fence and carry out the types of massacres that they did. There is acknowledgement and public acknowledgement here in the U.S. From intelligence.
I don't think Israel, even if they fucking thought that this was a likely attack, I don't think a single person thought that it would be this violent. After all, Hamas didn't think it was going to be this violent. So what are we talking about? In the immediate aftermath of October 7th, like the official statement from Hamas, the official Hamas statement quite literally was something along the lines of like, the operation was incredibly successful and infinitely more successful than what we thought we would be able to get. So, in my opinion, I think that arrogance plays a gigantic role there. The arrogance of Israel thinking that they could like hold back was understandable on the Hamas front. Like, of course, if you're a Palestinian militant, you're thinking like, yeah, this is like an insanely rich, insanely militarized border. There's no way that they would be able to get into a fucking military checkpoint and like rip through the barracks like in 15 minutes with GoPro cameras. You know what I mean? Like they probably did not think that it was going to happen to this degree. Yeah. The example that I always point to is the 2021 airstrikes. It happened because Sheikh Jarrah was taken over. Hamas said, don't fucking do that. Get your hands off Sheikh Jarrah or we'll retaliate with rockets. Then they did. Then Israel turned around and bombed the shit out of. Those were just literally fucking over a couple rockets. Man, how does some chick at the border checkpoint develop her theories? They have, I think the IDF has like, they don't have like separate intelligence. I think like IDF also has like intelligence operations at the border too. Like she wasn't just some chick. She was like it's an observation post at the border that she operated out of. I don't think she was just a. Like, you guys forget, I don't know where Elit News is, but he could correct me on this. If I'm not mistaken, one of the major command centers that they took over was directly a intelligence command center, which had a shit ton of information in it, actually. And it's near the border. So the Israeli NSA or whatever still operates out of border observation areas as well.
Intelligence officials and Biden administration officials that this was purely an Israeli intelligence failure. American intelligence officials are not taking any responsibility for this. They are laying it at the feet of the intelligence apparatus and security apparatus in Israel. Essentially, the U.S. has been so focused on China and on Russia and Ukraine that they just don't spend a lot of time thinking about Hamas and other Palestinian militant groups. Now, will that change going forward? That remains to be seen. We've certainly seen U.S. intelligence playing a much bigger role during this conflict with drones and other kinds of signals intelligence gathering. But in their minds, this is an Israeli intelligence failure. I think most will tell you that Netanyahu is not expected to survive this, but there's also an expectation that the heads of the intelligence agencies
there's
will
certainly
also
going to be
roll.
a reckoning.
This